So is LeBron James the new king of the Looney Tunes, or is he destined to never be like Mike? Hey everybody, what's going on? It is a new legacy. Today we're going to return with a sequel to a movie that came out in 1996, Michael Jordan's Space Jam. Today we're going to be talking about Space Jam, a new legacy starring LeBron James and Don Cheadle. Oh, and Bugs Bunny and friends. Look, going into this movie, I have not liked any of the trailers. I thought they looked too commercial. I thought it looked like they were trying to pump out, hey, this is what you can see on HBO Max and Warner Brothers coming up in the future, or what we have right now. Some of the things from the past, some new things. That's all I've thought about the marketing for this. So keep that in mind, that was my first initial reaction to what we were going to get. If you don't want any spoilers, I will say this. This movie wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but I didn't still think it was that great. When things worked, they worked. The main storyline was okay, but predictable. That being said, it's a lot of what I would have said about the first movie. You have, a guy, granted, Michael Jordan, I don't think had really acted other than in commercials. And LeBron James has at least been in some movies. And as much as I have fond memories of the first one, I've seen it somewhat recently. And while I still enjoy it from a nostalgic point, it's still just an okay movie. And I mean, there's a lot of the jokes haven't aged well, and some of the jokes in this won't age well either. There's just a lot of comparisons between the two. In some ways, they feel like the same movie. In some ways, they don't. And when there was things that worked in this, I appreciated it. I will say for me, not everything or not enough stuff worked to make me love this movie. And I went into this with the most open mind I could. But I thought the movie was okay. I think here's what I really think. If you grew up with LeBron James, like I grew up with Michael Jordan, those are the people that are probably gonna appreciate this movie the most, because he's already your hero. See, I really stopped following basketball, like seriously, after Jordan won his sixth championship. And not saying I haven't watched basketball since, because I have, but I used to follow it pretty religiously, and then I kind of stopped after that, because I just felt like that's a good way to go out, right? I don't get to watch a lot of sports. I'll occasionally turn on a ball game or something, but I don't really follow it all that much anymore. And in some ways that comes into play with seeing this movie. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But if I were like a big time fan of LeBron James, I would appreciate this movie more. In some ways, I'm going to get to that, because we're going to talk about their portrayal of LeBron James in this. I really have to talk about that. But I didn't think this was a terrible movie. I liked what they did with the Looney Tunes. I liked how we had to get them together. I liked when they turned them to 3D. I thought that was kind of neat. Even though in the movie those characters see it as a detriment that they're not 2D animation anymore, which I get. I like that too. And even though I didn't like a lot of the commercialization, seeing the occasional character in the background, including my kids here, it was just kind of fun. Now they were way in the background, but you could just see the outlines of them and tell it's them. They never showed them up close. I would have loved it if the Warner Brothers and Dot got involved. But anyway, all right. So for me, I would say if you have HBO Max, stay at home and watch it. Or, of course, you can always support your local theater. and go see it there too. But for me, it's like I'm glad I could stay at home and watch it. But yeah, if you're a kid or a young fan of LeBron James, you're probably gonna appreciate this the most. I think because I just think that fans of the original that grew up like me that grew up with the original, a lot of them might say, that's not my Space Jam, and they were already saying. I mean, let's be honest, they were already saying it before the movie even came out, and I really had to take myself out of that mindset as a fan because, like I said, I love the first movie. It's fun, but I can't go. It's one of those I just can't go back and watch a whole lot. And with this one, I probably wouldn't watch it again. Um, so, I mean, I still like the first one better, but I could see why people would like this, even though we're going to talk about its faults here in a second. So, yeah, if you could stay home and watch it, probably your best option, or support your local small theater, if they have it. All right, so the main setup for the story, they start by introducing you to LeBron James. For those that don't know who LeBron James is, they're trying to show him in the best light because they are showing, how he was drafted by Cleveland and everything. Because they first start off, like the first movie, they show our hero as a kid, and he's playing a Game Boy, and his coach gets on him and is like, don't ever play video games. You need to focus on your game, or you'll never be good. So he does. So he stops playing video games, focuses all on basketball, and becomes the hero who, boy, do they really just cram it in your face that LeBron James is the greatest of all times. I would say I was like 11 sub-minutes into the movie, and man, they were just laying it on thick. And, LeBron James is the greatest human being to ever human, right? Even though they do start showing his faults, because, we'll see, they don't really show him in the best light. I got to talk about that, because they start showing, it's like, yeah, they say, yeah, I'm coming home to Cleveland, and he's playing for the Cavaliers, but then they start showing the parts of his life that people really can't stand, or unless you live in certain areas, like when he went to Miami, and the people in Cleveland felt betrayed, and then he came back to Cleveland, and they were happy, and then they felt betrayed again when he went to the Lakers. So they show all that, and then they start to show his flaws, because it shows him pushing his sons to play basketball. And really, a lot of this movie, LeBron comes off as a jerk. He really does. But, that's a part of his character arc, so it actually works. But really, I don't know. In some ways, I feel like he earned his character arc. In some ways, I don't. But anyway, he's pushing his son to play basketball, but his son just wants to make video games. And his son has even made his own game. And boy, the makers of NBA Jam might be a little upset. That being said, who knows? Warner Brothers, being that they made Mortal Kombat, and a lot of those, I don't know who owns what anymore, but they were both Midway at one time, if I'm not mistaken. The game he makes is practically kind of like an NBA Jam. It doesn't have the NBA license or anything. It's got some players that, like I told you, I don't follow basketball anymore. I know they're real players, but I don't know who they are really, because again, I don't follow the sport. But then again, fans of these people know exactly who they are. Like in the first movie, where you had like Charles Barkley and the such that were that the powers got taken from him and everything. So his son wants to make video games, and his son goes with him to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers has developed this marketing strategy for LeBron James, and it was created by the villain of our story, the AI, Algorithm, because who's the bigger villain than the algorithm, right? That's Don Cheadle's character. And LeBron James hates his idea, which of course ticks Don Cheadle's character off, and he ends up getting so mad that he digitizes both LeBron James and his son, brings them into the digital world, takes the son away to, in some ways, he treats him like Captain Hook did to Peter Pan's son in Hook, where he's just kind of, trying to be his new daddy. Uh, and LeBron James gets sent to Looney Tunes land, and he's got one day to come up with a team to play algae rhythm in a basketball game. But not in the end, it's not just any basketball game; it's his son's game. Because so you can already tell where this is going when you see his game, and it's like, gee, I wonder who will be a great team to play this. So LeBron James on Looney Tunes land. The only one that's still there is Bugs Bunny. He runs into Bugs, but they find a way off the planet, and they go and gather the friends and go to play the basketball game. And that's about as far as I'll go with setting up the story. So yeah, first LeBron James. The way they do give him a character arc, and his character arc is he's pushing his son too much and let his son be himself. I mean, it was really pretty obvious from the start. LeBron James, he's fine in this. I mean, I don't think he's very funny. I don't think a lot of the jokes, really not just from him, but a lot of the characters don't land. Don Cheadle looks like he's having a pretty good time. But even his jokes don't land all that well. They try to set up LeBron's, I believe it was his brother, as kind of like the comic relief character. Doesn't really work, and he's not even in it that much. But the whole story is really more just LeBron James and his son. I mean, they have his wife and his other kids in there and everything, but they're not a major part of this movie. And really, when it comes to the tunes, a lot of them get their time to shine a little bit. A lot of people were wondering who the focus was going to be on. Really, it's Bugs. I know they made a big deal about getting Zendaya to voice Lola, but I mean, they start to act like she's going to have this major part, and then she's just kind of there the rest of the movie. I mean, she plays in most of the game and everything, and she does, have some big scores and all that, but she doesn't get a lot of focus. I was really kind of surprised at that. I figured they were going to push her more, especially since you've got someone that everybody loves right now to voice her. But a lot of the tunes get their time to shine during the game and everything. Bugs is definitely the at least the MVP that the movie pushes. I'm going to talk about my MVP in a minute. But a lot of them get their time to shine. Some of them work, some of them don't. You've seen the clip of Porky Pig rapping. I think kids will like that part. Me, I was just kind of, meh, okay, let's get it over. And we actually have a local restaurant. Or I can't remember if they're a restaurant or a food truck. I've never been. I know they have a traveling food truck, but I think they have a restaurant too. It's called the Notorious P.I.G. And this movie calls Porky at that time the Notorious P.I.G. So I thought that was kind of funny, but just because it has a local connection. But yeah, all the characters get their spots in. You'll have Yosemite Sam, they tell him to shoot the ball, he shoots the ball. And which, by the way, how come apparently the Looney Tunes characters can't have guns on the new cartoon, but they can have guns in this? I don't know, I thought that was kind of weird. One thing I did like they did with the characters, though, is they all have left the planet, the Looney Tunes planet, and they're all, when they go to gather them, this is the only part of the real cross-marketing that I thought was funny, and I really enjoyed. Because all of the characters, you have LeBron James trying to gather his team, and he starts thinking of Warner Brothers properties, which would make good players, and he picks like Superman and the Iron Giant, things like that. And he wants to go get them, so they'll go to DC land, and they go to find Superman, and they see a train is gonna crash into like an orphanage or something, and they go on there and they think they found Superman, but they find Daffy Duck and Porky Pig dressed up as Superman and Jimmy Olsen, and they end up they end up thinking the Looney Tunes crashed the train, and that's when the superheroes show up and they're like, "We're gonna get you." So of course they don't join. So he can never get who he wants on the team because the Looney Tunes keep messing up. See, Bugs is trying to gather his friends, which, by the way, this is where they admit, in some ways, they kind of dance around the first movie, a little bit, but they never really outright say it for a while that the other movie existed. But you have Bugs Bunny bring up a bunch of photos, and all the team are wearing their Toon Squad uniforms, so it's like, obviously the first movie happened. Even though they kind of dance around a little too much. I wish they would have talked about it more. But anyway, they're going to get all the different Looney Tunes, and they're all in different movies. And I thought that part was funny. And thankfully it didn't last too long. It's just, it's kind of like montagey, and they gather up their crew. And LeBron James, of course, isn't happy because, he wanted all these different players, and he got the Looney Tunes instead. And then they get to the game. They get to the game awful quick. They have like very little time to practice or anything. And LeBron is trying to run the team like he's a dad, kind of like a jerk. Like, you do it my way or the highway. And that's, again, he just came off as a little too much when it came to the, my way or the highway attitude. It felt like just overacting some. Again, though, not a trained actor. And I don't know, it just felt a little too much to me. And you had, again, when the arc finally comes around for him to learn his lesson, it just, I don't, part of it felt earned, part of it didn't. But then again, you got the characters here, and Bugs is trying to tell him, we got we're the right team, and of course, again, they're kind of insinuating that we've done this before, because when they go to get Lola, they're like, we need you to play on a basketball game and help LeBron. And she's like, been there, done that. And so they're kind of, talking about the first movie. And there is a big scene where they definitely connect the first movie. And this is the big question. I'm not going to answer it, but this is the big question, because it would spoil the best joke of the movie. The best joke. They talk about Michael Jordan. It comes up, and it's the funniest thing in the movie. I'm not saying it made it worth seeing it, but it was the one thing that made me laugh out loud big time, because I thought it was really clever what they did. That being said, I am going to have to talk about a bit of a spoiler here. It would have been cool if you could have had Jordan play like the Bill Murray character in this. Because I'm going to tell you, there's no Bill Murray or nothing like that. They didn't have any real connections like that. It would have been cool if you could have had Jordan play the Bill Murray character. That's all I'm going to say. I just think that would have been a better connection to the other one. I think did they try to get him? I don't know. It would have been cool if they did. Maybe they did. I don't know. I haven't heard any behind the scenes stories about whether or not they tried to get Michael Jordan in this. Would he have done it? Don't know. That's another thing that's funny looking back on that old movie. The whole movie's about his family, and he's divorced from his wife and stuff like that now. I don't know. It's just kind of, it's a strange time capsule to look back on. But anyway, I talked about how they kind of make Bugs Bunny the MVP. Again, all the tunes get their spots in, we'll just say, to use a wrestling term. But Bugs is definitely sees the MVP. And by the way, speaking of characters, you could have had Pepe Le Pew in this. You could have done something with him stinking up the joint or something. I think it would have worked out fine. I know he's not, he's the cancel character or whatever. Redeem him then. If you're gonna, just redeem the character. There was supposedly a scene in this where he was trying to get fresh with a girl and she smacked the crap out of him. It would have been a good redemption. Maybe he learned a lesson. But anyway, that's just a, you know, something that could have been in it and it wasn't. You know, how about hashtag justice for Pepe or something like that. But my MVP was Wile E. Coyote, and unfortunately they spoiled the scene in the trailer, and it's a scene where he multiplies himself. He didn't mean to do it in the movie, but the thing is, in this game, it's based on the kids' video game, so they can do style points and get more points. The halftime score is like 1,000 and something to 32, right? So when the tunes start to get loony, because that's exactly where it's going to go, it's like, oh, they're going to be playing this game. Of course, it's their kind of game. They can get crazy and play it. He does the multiplier with the ball, and he scores the most points in the game. He's the one that catches them up. I think they're up to like 400, 500 some points through a bunch of different little scenes, and he uses the multiplier, and he gets them to 1,000. So Wile E. Coyote, my guy, my favorite Looney Tune, is the MVP of the movie, in my opinion. When it comes to the other players they use, again, I don't know who any of them are, but I liked what they did with them, even though I didn't think the effects were the greatest. You have where the kid, the son, he had digitized, he took pictures of these real players when his dad took him to some camp or something. And he took pictures of these players doing moves and everything, and he digitized these real players into the game and then gave them special powers and turned them into like creatures and stuff. So that's how they fit in the other players, the other NBA players into this. They didn't really show them in the movie other than that one scene of him digitizing them. And then they did the voices for their video game counterparts. All in all, again, no, this is not your daddy's Space Jam. Was it the worst thing I'd seen? Was as bad as I thought it was going to be? In some ways, again, the HBO Max and the Warner Brothers commercials, I mean, they made sure they showed like an extended Matrix scene because, of course, there's a Matrix movie coming out. There was just lots of nods to different franchises and things, which that's another thing. And I know a lot of people have said this already, but you had a problem with Pepe Le Pew, but you had no problem putting, characters from Game of Thrones and the Clockwork Orange characters and stuff like that in this movie. It's just a little weird. But anyway, I thought the commercialism was way too much. Even though, again, when they were showing the characters in the movies, that was kind of funny. But yeah, it felt definitely too commercialized. But in some ways that worked, some ways it didn't. All in all, I didn't think it was a terrible movie. My kids want to watch it, I'll watch it again. But if they're not going to watch it, yeah, I'm probably not going to watch this one again. Then again, I have trouble going back and watching the original as well, even though I have fond memories of it because I was younger when I saw it, and I'm, of course, was a big Bulls fan and big Jordan fan. So, again, if you're a big fan of LeBron, if he's like your guy, you're probably going to get more out of this than anybody, just like I did when I was a big fan of Jordan as a kid. So anyway, that's going to be all for this review. See you later.